iZombie Season 4, Episode 4, Brainless in Seattle, Part 2. So this was definitely a good conclusion to the two-part, sort of story that they had. Of course, they end up catching the criminal, which I feel like happened super early in the episode, and most of it was, kind of just everything else surrounding the main case. And we have Blaine finding out who Renegade is. We find out that Renegade actually met Liv before and that she tried to tell everybody what was going on about the missing kids and this and that. And they killed her husband off. Blaine, of course, was the one that came to her. So I feel like she remembers him, but he doesn't remember her, kind of like with Liv. It was like, yeah, I remember you from the morgue, like we've actually met. So I feel like she knows exactly who Blaine is, but unfortunately she ends up getting captured. We have, I don't even really know, like, what, continuing this weird sort of zombie prophet church deal. Major, excuse me, actually ends up running into Blaine's dad, which I swear I wish I could remember that guy's name. He's still just Blaine's dad to me. But they run into each other at the church because they end up, finding the kid and finding the camera. And, the guy's like, oh, like, let him pass because he's basically kind of like a wayward soul because he went into, the pits of hell to, free all the zombies and stuff. So they get their free pass there, and it's like, if I ever see you in the devil's clothing, you'll be killed, and, whole crazy church prophet stuff. So don't know where that's headed, but now they know what's going on there because I'm pretty sure Major knew the whole deal about, like, oh, he's supposed to be dead and stuff like that. So that comes back into the fold, and it's like, all right, well, that's a pretty big deal. That's a bit of an issue. That's a problem. So we have that storyline going on. They do technically get the phone, if I remember right, but it's just bad. It's a real big disaster for them. And then Liv and her talking to Clive and trying to set him up with the woman in the department, which might, we find out, actually end up becoming a thing because Clive does mention that he and Dale are actually in an open relationship. Of course, that's not really what he wants, but he loves her enough, and that's what he really wants to do. And maybe that'll actually end up happening with him. And of course, Liv was like, maybe, she could help you get over that hump. And he's like, it's too soon. But we find that out, and so we kind of just have like this weird kind of grouping of different storylines, really starting to melt together because we have, like I said, this up with Blaine and Renegade, and eventually Liv, because clearly she's been kind of talking to Renegade, and they've kind of gotten closer. She'll realize that she's missing, and they'll know that something crazy is going on. Odds are they'll probably go straight to Blaine because why not? They still have the idea with Blaine and Don E to use the cure to kind of make themselves insanely rich. So they don't go too far with that. They just kind of introduce that concept. So we'll see where that ends up going. But looking forward to that. Looking forward to the church stuff. And then other than that, it's kind of some little things here and there. The Peyton Robbie thing may or may not be coming back. And it's kind of just everybody hanging out, figuring out where they are, and of course Liv still being on like the crazy love struck brain, realizing like the people who are closest to her, who her soulmates are, and it doesn't have to be like that one person. It can just be like the people she loves and her her family and friends. So I thought that was a cool way to end it. We do see Major's cadets hooking up like off in the corner. They're making out, so it's like, all right, so that'll be a thing. But I am looking forward to where we're headed now that Renegade's been captured by Filmore Graves, how everything's going to play out with the church stuff. Like I said, just all these different storylines, they're officially starting to kind of converge on each other, and eventually just the simple fact that they're going to be running out of brains. They can't, there's not an infinite source of fresh brains to be killing people. Not everyone's going to be trying to sneak into a city because they're in love on the internet. So it's like eventually that's going to be a part of it, or so many people are just going to get wiped out that who knows what will end up happening. But really enjoyed part two. Once again, it was definitely funny with Liv. I think they focused a lot more on that in the first part, which I'm totally fine with. And this kind of focused a lot more on just the other stories, like the B stories from the last episode were like the main stories for this one, which is kind of exactly what I figured. Like the major stuff I figured would be a main point, him looking for the camera, and just all the craziness that went on there. The guy going to the no zombie bar and stuff, and his friends, ditching him, and there's one buddy being like, you always knew to do the right thing, and then he gives him the gun. It's like, no reason I should be different now because he wanted him to kill himself. So it was just like, man, that's pretty tough. And then he went straight to that church and was just like, oh, sweet, I can totally be a zombie. He was right over that, and he was just like, this is the life I got. So plain and simple. But looking forward to where we're headed. Things seem like they're just gonna get more and more disastrous because nothing's ever really simple. Whether it's for the villains or the heroes, it always ends up just being like some crazy convoluted mess for them. It always makes sense, but it's just destructive and convoluted for these people. So we'll see how it plays out. Things are gonna get a lot worse before they get better. So I don't know if it's gonna be, kind of the mass hysteria thing, where it's like, if they just start wiping out humans, they will just nuke the city. So we'll see how things start to really play out in these next couple episodes. But certainly enjoyed this. Definitely, of course, want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And of course, with Blaine having Renegade, I would love to know your predictions on how that's going to play out, or him, Blaine, giving Renegade to Filmore Graves, how that's going to play out, what they're going to do with her, what extra information they're going to try to get out of her before I would assume they're just going to kill her, but they'll probably try to torture her first to get the info. So I would love to know your predictions on what that's really going to lead to, like what is going to come of people not being able to get kids smuggled out, or being smuggled in, or being helped to be turned into zombies, which is kind of the big deal, because it's like, well, she's stopping people from naturally dying, which makes the zombies hungry, and then you go for Romero. So, and obviously Filmore Graves is taking everything that they possibly can because they're stingy. So, of course they're mad at her. But we'd love to know your predictions on just how all that madness is going to play out. And like I said, definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.